Okay, I'm about to lose my fucking mind right now, um, and just bear with me. But this is something that just it pissed me off because I just saw it. Um, just for the backtracking of anyone, I am an avid manga reader. I classify myself as an otaku. Hell, I love video games, but even I have to say like I'm otaku first, gamer second. Um, and with that mindset, I poke and prod and look at anything that I can. It really doesn't matter to me whatever type of genre you are. I like what I like. And so I've read everything, and I can like anything, and you something that has a good story or a decent story is worthy of a read, regardless if it has like magical girls in it or aliens and giant robots and whatnot. If it's interesting, it's interesting. Just a little summary of me. But I stumbled across this literally yesterday. From the time that I'm making this, I found this yesterday, and I looked at the first chapter, and then I knew that this was something that I hated to my absolute core, as the premise is just so goddamn ridiculous and disgusting to me. That I could not and I will not read any more of it. And again, drawn to reading it by the title of it. And the title of this manga is called, from what the English translation is, from what I can see, is "I Would Die to Have Your First Time." And you know, very very odd of a title. And it's like it was one of those things I had to mull over. So I was sitting there just pondering, like, what the fuck does he mean by that? I was like, do they mean literally? Like, just like literally, like, and then I was thinking on the lines of, is it talking about in the sense of someone being like, just to have sex with you, if it meant it would kill me, I would do it. So that was my interpretation going into the story. Um, and I kind of read the summary, and then even that confused me even more, as it was just fairly odd. But essentially, the summary was basically, well, let me read the summary. I have it pulled up. Uh, Nishimori Toru, 31, an attractive office worker, is married to the most beautiful woman in the company, Mika-san. From an outsider's point of view, they would be envious of him. However, he has a secret he cannot tell anyone about. The only female he knows is Mika. But Mika has known lots of other men. Because he loves her, he is bothered by this fact. It's not possible, quote, and it will never come true. It's not possible and it will never come true, end quote. Quote unquote. After falling off the train tracks, a miracle occurred. This is a twisted but youthful and pure love story about he who longs for his wife's virginity. That's so fucked up. I can't even begin to describe how fucked up that is, and incredibly stupid, of a premise, of a story, of even a romantic gesture in my eyes. As like I said, I read the first chapter and I was immediately like, "Oh, fuck this." Now, I'm not someone who's bothered by a fat person being a main character or someone who is considered ugly and unattractive and whatnot. The fact that even in the summary it says an unattractive office worker, by typical standards of what you would call attractive and unattractive, that immediately is debunked by the aspect that he is married to someone. Someone, even if she is the most beautiful, she found him attractive. So to even initiate that he's unattractive would mean that basically no one would find him attractive. But someone did find him attractive because you're starting your story off with him being married. So automatically you're fucking dumb. I hate that concept of even doing that. You see this shit a lot more so in the fucking hentai than anything else. But even then, when it's done as the fat person is the main character, it's not something to be, oh, like this fat bastard's in and over this woman. It's like, yo, motherfucker, you can walk outside and see fat people with skinny, attractive people. You like what you like. That shouldn't be the crux of whatever your story is. And even in the series of what they showed with him, the only thing that I saw that was unattractive is them trying to usher in or showcase a sex scene between him and his wife while he was supposedly to be this 31-year-old unattractive guy. And then I was like, yo, the sex scene that they drew was just naturally awkward and weird. But then they did that because of the fact that essentially not only is he a fat, unattractive man, but he also suffers from basically, premature ejaculation, possibly. Or I say possibly because even like he himself found a problem with it. But he was like, I couldn't even last 5 minutes. But it's something that he found issue with rather than her finding issue with it. And him even kind of talking to her about it, like, I'm sorry, I couldn't, I'm sorry. And then she, like, but he wasn't like begging like that. I'm being hyperbolic. But in her being like, no, it's okay. I still love you. It doesn't matter. And and it was like having like a lovey-dovey moment and everything. But the general consensus of the manga is that him going around just fucking losing his shit over the idea that his wife basically fucked other people before she got to him. And then she's the only woman that he's ever slept with. And honestly, this is a thing that's where to me it just really pisses me off. Because that should never be a issue. That should never be something that you look towards or you have an issue with as someone who is supposedly in love with someone else. And you can argue and say that no, you could, and it's like no you can't, like you really can't. The sexual exploits of your partner should have no bearing whatsoever on you loving them or not, because the sexual exploits of them is what led them to liking your ass in the first place. They've been through shit that had led them down the goddamn rabbit hole that drawn them or pointed them in your direction in the first place. So if you try to take that away from them, then you're ultimately taking away the thing that led them to find you attractive in the first fucking place. So if he is supposed to be this unattractive guy, what if she's been with dudes who basically were the exact opposite of him and she couldn't stand it? So because of that, her mentality switched to seeing someone like him as just the ultimate goal of attractiveness. She thought he was the fucking pinnacle as far as it goes for what I want in a man. But you would never get that unless she's been with the people she's been with. You see what I'm saying? And it's like we all go through shit, and everything that we do and everything that we go through is a fucking experience in order to shape us and turn us into the people that we become later on in life. But the idea of someone becoming so obsessed over the fact that his wife didn't fuck him first, which is just idiotic and obsessively crazy. I don't know why this is a fucking premise. This is something that is akin to the dumb idiocy that is portrayed in a lot of anime and manga, where essentially your main character has to be someone that is a virgin. Your main character has to be someone that is considered pathetic. Your main character has to be someone that is on the lowest scaling as far as is humanly possible within the Japanese culture for people, in order for it to sit there and go, this is how every man is. Well then, why is your everyman so goddamn pathetic? Why is your base normal guy a fucking loser? Like what? Then what is considered a loser then? There's like, if this is normal, but normal is considered a loser, what exactly is loser? And again, you start off your story with this guy being married to the most attractive girl in the company by his standards, and it's like she's the most beautiful woman in the company by his standards, and she's married to this asshole. So now we're going to deal with the idea of essentially, because at the end of the chapter, he basically falls off of a train tracks, dies, but then they do the age regression time travel bullshit, which is becoming, it basically is a big theme within Chinese manga or manhwa right now. And I'm seeing it starting to shift and bleed over into manga because they're running out of ideas for isekai. But it just, that is incredibly idiotic. And then even in the summary, it says a miracle occurred. And then it's like, that's not a fucking miracle. that means this sick psychopath gets to live out exactly what he wants, which is to basically completely and utterly control and dominate his wife's sexual history by him being the only one. They never had him go that essentially he's basically been pushed to the limit of trying to please his wife. There was never a thing that said that speculated that, he's tried to do some exercise to get better at stamina. He's tried to, which is actually a fucking thing. He's actually tried to talk to his wife to explain or like find out more about her. Like, hey, what turns you on? What do you like to be done to you? No, it's just it's just the concept of the conquest of just taking her virginity. That's all that he wants. It's the fact that he didn't get to see her be shy. He didn't get to see her like wince at the first time of a man being inside of her. It's literally just the idea of her losing her virginity to him is what he ultimately wants. And then again, apparently within the Japanese culture, they have that be a major staple to where, most people who lose their virginity to each other wind up being with each other. But again, this is the same culture where most people who like get together within high school or college wind up marrying each other within that time span because they don't really socialize with other people that much or that often. Also, was kind of frowned upon when you reach a certain age and you're not married. Weird culture on certain aspects. Certain aspects they do just fucking weird and backwards. But again, that's just how they are as a culture. And again, the story never dictates nor did it showcase anything or just anything that this asshole did as a person which led up to him being married to her. It just started off with that being the premise. I've seen this premise being done before and it's so fucking stupid and backwards. No matter how much you try to ponder over it, it's just completely idiotic that you will sit there and stipulate of a person being like, wow, this is my, wow, I'm married to this person. But then they go back in time or they do something else and it's like, and it's like they got to build their relationship up with this person all over again. And then they're seeing the twists and turns that went in with their lives, which led to them getting in a relationship with this person. But somehow they forgot. The greatest thing in your life is being married to this one person, and you can't fucking remember what it is you did that led to you getting married with them. What type of dumb shit is that? That's the stupidest fucking thing ever. And so the fact that this didn't even go over that in the beginning, that's not something that he was harping over. He wasn't thinking about the idea of, like, how did I get so lucky? How did she want to marry me? Why did she find me attractive? He couldn't even be bothered to ask that fucking question. Like, to even stipulate something like that. And that would be something that he generally would either, she would lean against the question. She wouldn't really tell him that. She would just kind of awkwardly just laugh it off or play it off or just kind of be coy with the answer and just say like things that he didn't understand or he found aloof with, So it was like it started bothering him or building up like that, which led to him being bothered by the subject or the topic of like her being with him. Like, yeah, that would make sense because then he would be indifferent with it. Then he would feel like there was something going on, something to add on to that pressure of him thinking like, maybe I'm not doing it for her and maybe she's just using me. But you have to give that element. They've done nothing but they've done and shown nothing of her just being a wonderful wife who loves her husband and in him just being incredibly lucky with being with her. They couldn't even be bothered to show or even begin to talk about how they got together. And I don't give a fuck if the manga does it later. The fact that it's something that he wasn't even thinking about until, he wasn't thinking about it in the first chapter, which led to him going back in time in the first place. So why the fuck would I care of him thinking about it later when he's re-meeting her over? And to even make matters worse, he goes back in time at a point where he was getting his ass kicked, and he wakes up, he was getting his ass kicked in front of a guy that basically was being with her, and then she was about to go on a date with this guy or whatever, and then they met each other in high school, and I was like, whoa, the icing on the fucking cake. They knew each other in high school, and so now he's back in time when they were in high school, and it's just unfucking believable. I just can't stand it. I don't believe it. I won't believe it. They got married when they went to the same company but they've known each other since they were or they've met each other in high school. Dude, what are the fucking odds? No, couldn't be bothered for him to actually try to hunt her down or look for her to show the creepiness that is what he is. No, 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 no. They were right there. We're gonna get to a point where they possibly where they first met for the very first time. This is it. This is it. And even still, they had a moment where he was speaking with his wife, and she said, no matter what the situation or what it is, I know for a fact that if I was to marry you or to see you in another life and another time, I would always marry you. Some real lovey-dovey type of shit. But again, all of that goes completely over this sick motherfucker's head. The fact that he couldn't even be bothered to look at himself and go, I need to fix whatever the fuck is wrong with me. But it's just, no, it's the fact that she didn't lose her virginity to me. That's what the problem is. That's what's wrong. It's not the fact that I'm overweight. It's not the fact that I can only last 5 minutes. It's not the fact that I can't even please my fucking wife. That's not a problem. No, 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 no. I couldn't be bothered to think of that. And I'm supposed to sit here and go, this is a nice love story? Get the fuck out of here, man. It pisses me off because this is shit that someone looked at and went, this is a good story. We should make this a manga. We should publish this shit, and people will read it. They'll eat it up, or like just people will read it. But it's just, I've seen manga with this dumbass of a premise get turned into anime. There's one out right now where there's a dude who basically is paying for a girlfriend, and she's going around pretending to be his girlfriend, and he's giving her money to do this, but he's slowly falling in love with her because she's doing typical girlfriend shit, but he's paying for her to do typical girlfriend shit. And then some people have the audacity to call it a harem when it's not even that. It really isn't. So just, I read that a long time ago, and I was like, yo, this is the dumbest shit I've ever read, and I just gave up because I was like, this premise is fucking idiotic. And now we have it as an anime. And so again, this is why I'm upset, because I just know I can supersede that this shit will get passed, because basically it is one of those love stories that most anime fans will look into or look at and go, yep, this is good. This is good because it's hilarious, because he's a fat loser trying to get with her and she's beautiful. The dumb bastard. It's fucking idiots. just so. Ugh. This manga completely upset me because I thought everything about it is just fucking gross. This is just idiotic. Would you be happy if you found out, let's say you met someone, they were nice, and like back when you first lost your virginity to somebody, you met them, you thought they were nice, you got along real well, and you two crossed that line, you had sex, and it was a wonderful, beautiful thing, and then just out of nowhere, this asshole turns around and tells you that in the future y'all are married, and he came back in time to make sure that you were the first person he fucked. You immediately be like, what the fuck? Like, what type of shit is that? And then even if you believed him, that's still disgusting, and that's still disturbing. That's not a nice sentiment. That is you manipulating. That's you literally manipulating me to do what you want because you have some sick idea that virginity is just the culmination of everything and anything that I am as a person. And it's like, I'm not me unless you fucked me first. God, that's stupid. That is so fucking stupid. And it's like, I looked at the first chapter and I was like, yo, he has a wonderful wife. Why couldn't the story be something that's actually plausible? A dude like this trying to better himself under the guise of wondering, how did I get so lucky? And then you see the small interactions that he had with her that led up to them being married within the story, while he's also trying to figure out and wonder what it is that he did that made her fall in love with him. While he is under the assumption that it was possibly this, while with her it was actually other stuff. Because some people don't know, it's little shit that make people fall in love with other people. Sometimes you feel emotions over people simply because they've done something and you had no way in knowing whatsoever that's the thing that you did that made them fall for you. It just that happens sometimes with people. These are actual reasons of stories of love, and it's just it's just I saw him go like he saw a baby bird on the ground. He picked it up. He put it in his jacket. He picked it up. He didn't want to touch it, and then he put it back in the nest. And I just thought that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then it clicked. Like I love this man. And I've heard this story before. I've literally heard that story before from relatives of mine. And then, yeah, and like when it was my aunt, and she was saying this about my uncle, and then my uncle was looking so confused, and he's like, I did what? And then he said, what? And then she was like, we was walking. He was like, oh man, that? He said, oh damn, I totally forgot about that. And then she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you did. But that's the thing that made me fall in love with you. And then it was like we were just going through the motions like normally I do as a couple with someone else. But it was that thing that just opened my eyes to wanting to know and be with you more than ever. And he was like, oh man, that's crazy. And then he was like, I never knew. And married for years. And just, and it was like, but if he was to go back in time, he would have never possibly known that that was the thing. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for her to fall for him. So if he was to go back in time and try to win her over, he never would have. Because he possibly would have skipped over that moment and thinking of doing another romantic or grander gesture, which she wouldn't have taken liking to. You see what I'm saying? So this story is already fucking backwards and stupid simply because of just how the premise is focusing this asshole putting the pussy on the pedestal. That's all he doing. He putting the pussy on the pedestal, and he shouldn't because he's already fucking his wife. They're already having sex. They're already married. Why isn't he focusing on fixing his relationship? He can't do that because the idea of her losing or having sex with other people is making him lose his fucking mind. And then again, in more typical assholish Japanese and manga fashion, this dick basically heard from her friend of her basically going through men and having multiple sex partners and shit like that. And again, couldn't even be bothered to talk with his wife. You're married. Having conversations of this shit will not ruin the marriage. You're married. If you didn't do this shit when you were already, if you two are already fucking together in holy matrimony, then you sitting down and having a conversation with your wife is totally normal. If this is something that is bothering you this fucking much, to the point where it could possibly ruin your marriage in the future because you're just sitting there going, I can't get over how many dicks I think you sucked. And she's like, what? that's because that's a thing. That's a thing. Jesus Christ. It's sick. But this is something that was perfectly summed up in the Clerks movie. If you've never seen Clerks, I recommend watching it. It's actually pretty funny and enjoyable movie. But in that movie, one of the things is that the main character had a girlfriend, and then he's asked her before how many people she slept with, and she's told him 4 or 3, including him. I can't remember if it was 4 or 3, including him. But then, as a joke, someone asked how many dicks has she sucked. And then basically she says this. She says a large. It was a double digit number. It was a double digit. So it was large. And it was a large number. And basically he spends the whole fucking movie tripping over it, all the way up to the point where he's believing or thinking of having sex with his ex because of the fact that he's like, well, I can't get over how many people she's been with. But his ex, who he's been pining for, still thinking about, basically is coming back into his life and is like, hey, one little, like, hey, you want to go around with me? And then she's known or having a reputation for cheating on him and whatnot. And then he's willing to jeopardize his relationship with his current girlfriend in order to get with his ex-girlfriend, who's already proven to be terrible for him. But he's willing to jeopardize his relationship with his current girlfriend, who's been nothing but nice the entire movie, nothing but caring, and he's been the only one harping and going crazy over the fact of her past sexual history, which again is not something you, as a partner, are able to do. Period. That's not something for you to hold over someone else, Totally different if you was there. Like, if you was there and you saw the shit, oh yeah, you was a part of it. Like, you were a part of it, you sicko. But it's not, and then like, it's wonderful, because in the movie, basically, a guy breaks down, Silent Bob comes up to him and breaks down that You know, most women, he's like, most women I know don't try to get you a better job or talk to you of going to college and finishing school or bring you lunch, you know, talk to you the way how she's been talking to you and actually care about your well-being. The other chick didn't give a damn about you. She just wanted to fuck. And you got this other one who's basically doing all this other nice shit for you. And you just upset over the fact that she sucked a bunch of dicks. And he was like, it wasn't a problem with the relationship before you found out about that. So why is it a problem now? It still doesn't change who she is. It still doesn't change the fact that you've had sex with her. Doesn't change anything at all other than the fact that you now know. So, and he was like, so, you know? And it's like, and basically, that movie sums up this entire fucking manga before I even read it. So there's no point in me even reading it because the idea and the prospect of it is completely idiotic. So initially, at any point in time within this manga, when he does anything that can essentially jeopardize her possibly losing her virginity to him first, then immediately it becomes idiotic. And then it's like that will be the greatest slap in the face I could possibly think to this character. But the artist but the person who made this manga would have never learned anything. So this is beyond dumb. It is beyond stupid, and I just can't take it. And it's like, just it's just oh man, it's just so stupid. Because there's nothing I could read in this, and it could go in any direction, and I not just think that this is completely idiotic under any circumstances. Whether he gets the girl or he doesn't get the girl, it still would be completely fucking idiotic. And as a premise to a manga, as a story in general, it's just disgusting. But again, it just forloans that notion that how for some reason in the Japanese culture, virginity loss is such a big fucking deal with these people. When it comes to a lot of their romance stories, and having your first time with someone would just solidify that, oh, you two are meant to be together forever, when that couldn't be further from the fucking truth. Especially for a culture that's so lackadaisical with sex in general. You have literally districts where you could get your fuck on. And then, censoring violence like crazy, but fuckery is everywhere. Remember how they used to have girls' panties in vending machines until people found out about it, and then they had to stop doing it because they started feeling that Japan started feeling that they were gross, and then, like, everyone's looking at them going like, motherfucker, those are girls' panties in a vending machine. That's fucking gross. And then they were like, yeah, those are banned. We never did it. And then they want people to forget about it. I'm never going to forget. That was a fucking thing that they did and they had, and it was nasty. But at the same time, they were cool with it. Oh, shit. I looked at this and I got completely annoyed at the premise, at the idea, and the thought of it, as it is just fucking gross. It's just fucking stupid. You can look at this and laugh at the plight of the main character, I guess, or just the idiocy of what he's trying to do, if that's something you want to do, but I can't. Something this dumb, just, I stay away from. I stayed away from the simp dude who basically rent a girlfriend. That story. I stayed away from that. Anyone who sits there and gives it praise, to me, is an idiot, because the story and the premise is completely idiotic. Especially considering that the main character still acts within the mindset of how they portray virgin and innocent main characters in anime and manga, where you sit there and have an innocent boy who's basically a virgin's never been with a woman, but the premise of the story starts off with the fact that he has been with a woman. So that in itself is idiotic. And so when you have him basically continue to act like that after he's already been with a woman, constantly blushing and being shy over just the simplistic of actions of holding hands and whatnot, it's okay to be romantic, it's okay to do stuff like that, but when your entire character freaks out over the idea of just touching a woman, even though, like, you've actually been intimate with a woman before, you personally are fucking weird. You're weird. And it's like, I can hug a girl and not get a boner just because I hug them and they're a female. I can feel breasts touch against me and not freaking lose my goddamn mind. Like, no, that's a normal bodily function. And it's not even the aspect of whether or not you've lost your virginity or not. It's just a mentality. But for some reason, they keep that mentality closed in on anime main characters, and the shit carries over, and it's just fucking weird. And it's just, they just constantly use it because it's a reoccurring cliche, and it's just that they'll never stop. But the shit gets weird over a long period of time, and then the more they try to like stay away from their character basically being like, I'm more open and into, like, sex with a woman, or I'm more into my own sexuality. I'm comfortable with my sexuality, and I'm comfortable with being with another woman naked. But I'm just trying to have a hard time deciding, like, which girl do I like, oh, aside from that. But then they still have them act that way. It's fucking weird. It's truly fucking weird. It's odd. But it's like they know no other way of having their characters. You can see that in any anime or any manga where a character's lost his virginity or has had sex with someone before. They still lose their shit. It's fucking weird. And I'm on a goddamn tangent right now. But I do not like this manga. I will not read it. I think it's idiotic. I just found it and the title just stuck out to me, and then reading the one chapter pissed me off so bad that I just needed to talk about it. And so I'm talking about it. Ugh. Yeah, this is just fucking gross. Man. I don't even want to recommend anything else, because I've just normally I recommend a manga for someone to read, but this this in itself is me doing an unrecommendation. Like, no, don't read this. This is fucking idiotic. Don't support this. Don't give it the time of day. This is a dumbass manga, and honestly, it has no place whatsoever in being held in any regard, because it's just beyond stupid. Fuck this. Okay. Uh, this has been fun with Flame. My name is Daniel the Flame. If I ever find something else to talk about, I will sure let you guys know. And as and as always, people, hope you have fun, because I sure as hell didn't read in this piece of shit manga. Also, be sure to check out the original home of the Fun with Flame podcast over at Anchor.fm. I upload there first and far more frequently than I do YouTube. And you should definitely go there to listen to some of my podcasts that are just too hot for YouTube to handle. So check out Anchor.fm for more Fun with Flame content. Be sure to subscribe and click any of the links in the description to see all of the other things that I am associated with, if you just want a little bit more of that day in the flame in your life.